mind that you aren't good enough, that you'll never be successful? If so, you're not alone. I've had those thoughts playing in my mind ever since I took the leap to become an entrepreneur. It's a dirty, dark secret that no one likes to talk about, as the glamorization of becoming an entrepreneur is shown in the media. I realized that in order to succeed, I needed help. We all do. So I decided to go all in on myself, spending thousands of hours in the trenches, reading, joining groups, listening to podcasts, hiring coaches to develop a bulletproof morning routine for success. Join me on my journey as together we build our morning fire to ignite our lives as entrepreneurs. My name is Jeff Wickersham, and this is the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast. Welcome to the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast. I'm excited to have special guest Scott Krone on the podcast this morning. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Absolutely. So let's get into state real quick. I always feel like a state change, so we have an energetic, enthusiastic, excited conversation is always vitally important. So we're going to do 3 power breaths, and I define a breath in through the belly, up through the chest, up through the back of the head. We're going to raise our arms up as we do it. So let's go ahead, breathe in and out. Good. Another breath in and out. Final breath in and out. Awesome. So I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. We're going to yell boom, hit our chest at the top of our lungs in 3, 2, 1, and boom. There you go. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you playing along. So let's get right into it. Obviously, morning habits, rituals, routines are what I eat, sleep, and breathe on a daily basis. So what's your go-to habit, ritual that you do every single day in the morning that really sets you down that path towards success?
Well, I think today was the first time I've ever done those breathing exercises in a sports coat. So that's a new one for me. But every day I'm getting up at 5:30, and it's brighter out, so it's getting better. But even in the heart of the winter, we're looking to get going at 5:30, my wife and I, and we immediately head down towards the beach, and we view that time as our reset time, getting refreshed. And so, for 8 months of the year, we're paddleboarding in Chicago on Lake Michigan. And so, I'm trying to drop the board in the lake already in March here, but it's a little dark now. We had daylight savings time. But we begin that. And if we're not paddling, then we come back and do some exercises. But it's that morning, that quiet and solitude, that stillness on the lake, for me, it's a resetting moment. It's refreshing. It's a time of reflection. It's a time of just silence and solitude, and I can't replicate that anywhere else. And that's one of the reasons why we really love it. And so this year we've actually gotten a second one. So our dog's going to have to walk himself down the lake and then turn around and come back, and we'll be out paddling. But that is the heart and soul of our mornings. We come back and either exercise and then get ready for the day and get to going to work.
I love that, and I love the process of getting outside and doing something active, right? Doing something active to start that wake up process. And the other piece that I truly love is that quiet, that solitude, right? And early in the morning when you can get that, I feel like there's such power in that process, and being able to reflect, spend some time in deep thought and really moving forward, rather than the flip side, what majority of the world does, where that alarm clock goes off and they play defense, right? From the moment the alarm clock goes off, and they're running very fast. So I love that practice. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's something that we've been doing, I'm going to say, for a good 15 years. And it's been a big component of our lives for sure. I miss it when I don't have it, like when we go on vacation or if I go to a conference and I'm in a hotel room, I miss that opportunity.
Awesome. So let's share a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. Obviously, I know you weren't always an entrepreneur, just based upon what we've spoken about. Tell me a little bit about why you made that leap into becoming an entrepreneur, and what were some of those trials and tribulations that you went through starting out, because I know we always have those.
Well, my family I come from a culture of entrepreneurship. So I'm 4th generation here in the United States, family business. And then on my mother's side in Denmark, 5th generation. family business. So one was in printing, the other one was in die casting.
Okay.
And so the spirit of having your own company, or being your own boss, if you will, was something that was deep set into my DNA as a kid. And seeing my grandfather, my father, and my uncle here in the United States running their die casting business, and obviously my grandfather and my uncle running the business in Denmark. And so, I when I first set out in real estate, I had a supposition that I'd probably be doing something on my own, but I didn't have a specific timing of it. And it was the type of thing where I wasn't, pursuing my career and learning a lot. And I went to a larger company that was also my professors that was doing hands-on stuff. So I was able to absorb and learn a tremendous amount in a very relatively short amount of time, 6 years. Okay. So, my first project, I was working on a $100 million project that was my design for our master's program. And then, he gave me other tasks during that period of time where I was running other projects as well. And so, someone who's in their early mid 20s running that type of size deals and magnitude I thought very special and unique, and it afforded me a great exposure. I left the company to go work with the former CEO of the company, and the project wasn't turning out the way in which they had intended, which afforded me the opportunity. I'm like, look, guys, you can't afford me to be here, but you can't afford me not to be here. But if I start my own thing, then I can work on my own thing. We can cut my salary. I can still support you guys. And it afforded me an easy transition, being newly married, but having a little bit of security of some income until I got things going. And so it was a natural progression. I was 28 years old. I was like, I probably didn't know what I needed to know, or too arrogant to think that I knew it all. And so that's how I started off. Just, was looking to make sure that, I had the ability of creating what I wanted to do.
So you had it sounds like you had a little bit of a bridge, right? You were still had that some security with the old employer or the old relationship, and then you jumped into the new one. How quickly did you say, all right, I'm going full time, this is the path I want to go on? How quick did that
It was
happen?
definitely within 6 months. I mean, it was a short period of time. The first thing that we did was we bought a house. And we tore it down, and we bought it for $300,000. We built a new one for $325,000, and we sold it for $1,050,000. And my investor said, "Do it again and don't tell anyone." And so at that point in time, I knew it was on for something good. And I'm like, I better tell everyone what I'm doing. Right. And so that's when we began just expanding it. Seeing the model work, expanding it, and growing it from there. We also got some outside clients, some non-investment clients, some design build clients. And so we were able to balance both speculative and builds and go from there.
Awesome. And so obviously there's probably been some bumps in the road, right? From the time you've been out on your own. What are a couple lessons that you could share just overall to my audience, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business owners, one or two lessons that would definitely benefit them from what you went through and the experiences you learned from?
I have no idea what you're talking about. We've never had a single bump in our road.
No, it's always roses, right? It's always this straight path upwards, right?
Exactly. Upward and onward, right?
Yep.
Well, I think that one thing that I've taken away that I've learned, I'm going to say within the last 2 years, is that, being an entrepreneur can be in a very emotional process, because it's like, if someone does something to your business, they're attacking you. They're attacking the essence of what you are, right? And when things go well, you can get the mentality, well, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, which is obviously a fallacy as well, because everybody needs sliced bread, but they certainly don't need me, right? So I think the biggest thing was that it's a tool called sachet. So it's sad, angry, scared, happy, excited, and tender. So that's sad, angry, scared, happy, excited, and tender. And it's a tool that we have begun implementing, especially within my wife and I, our communication. But it made me realize that I can be all these things at one time. I don't have to be one and let it impact the rest of my business or my career or my work. I can have what's called a full sachet. I can be experiencing all these different emotions at the same time. And yet that doesn't make it good or bad. It's just I'm able to recognize at the same time, I can feel excited about something, but I can also feel scared about something. I can be happy and I can be mad or, angry. So it gives me a more holistic approach to in order to evaluate what's going on. And so that I don't have to be either fully high or fully low. I can go through life with a better understanding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. And I loved your point about being an entrepreneur and somebody does something to the business or you have a failure. And so many times our identity is tied to the business. So if something fails in the business, then we personally feel like a failure. And one of the things that I love is to break that connection a little bit. And it's not that you're a failure, just something happened in the business. And that helps you get a little bit of space as well in the overall process.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a friend who just sold his business, and that's, he's still talking about it a year later. He goes, I'm 50 years old. I sold my business. It wasn't what I was able to accomplish. And I feel like a failure. And, it's like, those are very real feelings. And, I could certainly relate. And I called him up and I said, hey, look, you're not. I mean, you're still doing great things. You're just doing different things. That's all it is. And I wasn't just trying to boost him up, but more of my point is like, that every business is, if we look at the sensitivity of businesses, if you think of some of the biggest giants in the industry, it was like Arthur Andersen. They were top 5 consulting firms. One day they woke up, they're the top 5, all their partners are set for life. And all of a sudden the government turns on them and they're destroyed overnight. Or if you look what's happening in the financial markets where people are just attacking, a stock and then trying to force people out of business and stuff like that. So, even the greatest companies, if you went back and looked at the, the advertisements from the Super Bowl from like 10 years ago, how many of those businesses are still around? It's amazing, that there's ups and downs, but everyone thinks that if you're a big brand name that you're impenetrable, but that's certainly not the case.
Yeah. And then it's having that infinite game mindset, right? I love Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game, and it's you've always got to continue to get better, grow, push, because if you don't, the opposite is going to happen, right? And
Absolutely.
There's no staying the same. You're either growing or you're shrinking, and having that mindset is so vitally important to have that success be ongoing and be long-lived, to your point.
Absolutely.
So Scott, let's get into the book. So fellow author Lovett, High Performance Home. So navigating the green road to your dream home. Tell me a little bit about the book.
Well, the home that we live in was one of the first green homes in the area, and it actually won. It was only one of 2 homes that won the International Green Good Design Award for sustainable design back in I think it was 2009 or 2010. And so we were the first home in the area that was green. And when I was going through the building permit process, I got a call from the water department. And, they called me up and they said, we understand you're drilling wells, so why don't you want to use our municipal water? And I'm like, we're showing that we're going to tap in, we're going to have water. So what are you referring to? And they said, well, the building department told us you're having wells, and so that you weren't going to be using our water. I said, no, the wells are for geothermal heating and cooling. It's not going to be a water source. And then the fire department called me up about our solar panels. And it gave me an interesting light that the building department really had no understanding of what the green technology was. So in order for me to get my permit, I had to educate the building department. And then I realized if the building department doesn't understand it, then how is the general community, our clients' potential, going to understand what green technology is? They assume green means solar panels. But here in Chicago, they're actually very inefficient in Chicago. So there's a lot more technology that can be implemented. And this was certainly early on in the green movement. And so we were just trying to show different ways in which you can get to green or make your house more green without it having to, you could spend a lot or you could spend a little depending on what your goals were, but it's just not one formula. It's like the tax code. There's 50 shades of gray within the tax code. We tell our customers and clients that there's 50 shades of green within sustainability. It's all on a paradigm or a spectrum. It's a matter of balancing out your goals and objectives with what you're willing to pay for it.
That's awesome. What's on the horizon for Scott and your company in the near future? What are some goals? What are things you driving towards in the near future?
Well, 4 years ago, we started an adventure of having 10 self-storage facilities within 5 years.
Okay.
And we're on pace to be making that happen. So we have been developing that portfolio. We're in Wisconsin, Illinois, Ohio, and Kentucky, and we're expanding another one in Ohio, and also we're going to Maine. And this coming year, we're also going to be developing a facility down in Florida. And so what we're doing is we're just either converting underutilized commercial assets into self-storage, or we are looking to acquire underperforming existing facilities or developing them. And so that is our focus. We sold off our multifamily about 5 years ago, and we're focusing strictly on the self-storage as our investment vehicle.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Love to hear the vision and it coming to light. So Scott, where can people find you? Where can they find your book if they're interested?
Well, a couple different sites. Our design build site is www.coda.com, and that's more of our retail company. And then our investment company is www.codamg.com. And Jeff, for your listeners who are interested in learning more about the self-storage world, or what we do, if someone mentions this show or references the morning exercises or routines, then we'll certainly forward them some information regarding self-storage so they can learn a little bit more about the industry, but also take some time to go through with them in terms of the difference between a conversion versus the different assets classes between A, B, and C, so that they can come up with a strategy that is right for them in terms of what they're trying to accomplish.
Awesome. Love it. Scott, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day. Rise, fight, love, repeat. Get after it. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast. You now have the knowledge, but without action, knowledge is useless. Choose to act. Choose to step into your greatness and unlock that hero inside of you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review so more entrepreneurs can hear this message. If you absolutely love this podcast, which I hope you do, then share it up with someone you know who might see benefit from it. Become that beacon of change, and together we can impact the world.